You came here to know how to price smarter, not harder. First tip, when you are pricing, what are the evaluation criteria? What are those? That's first and foremost. Before you even do anything with pricing, I'm often asked like, so Kizzy, do I add 20%? Do I double it? Somebody wrote me today, they're like, oh my gosh, I got all these price quotes and they were so high. They're like super, super high. What do I do? What is or are the evaluation criteria? What are those? That's number one. So if the evaluation criteria is lowest price, technically acceptable, you need to know, number one, what was the previous price? What was the previous price? So you need to find out who was the incumbent, what is their name, what was the contract number, what was the contract value. You need to email the point of contact and call them and find out. Because if not, this is what will happen. You will submit a bid and you're gonna be super ecstatic about it, and then you're not gonna win because your pricing is too high. Someone wrote me privately and they were really devastated because their price was $4,000 higher than the person who ended up winning. There was something I bid on many, many moons ago, and I think we were a little less, I don't know, maybe $700,000 higher than the winner. I mean, it sucked. That's why it's important to ask, is there an incumbent? If so, who are they? What's the contract? So here's what you do with that. So a great example is there was a 5-year janitorial opportunity and the pricing was like $54,000 for 5 years. And the work is very similar. You're not going to be able to bid $55,000 for every year. The other thing you have to do is you have to put yourself in the mindset of the federal government. Most people never talk about it. They just jump to, here's what you charge, and that's why they don't got any contracts. Because you have to think about them. So going back to my example about pest control, are you paying $125 a week for pest control? If you wouldn't pay that, then why would the federal government pay it? You gotta be real with yourself. Gotta ask yourself this. So number one is you have to understand what's the evaluation criteria. If it's lowest price technically acceptable, you must find out what was charged in the past. If they say, oh my gosh, this is a completely new opportunity, then you are in for a ride. So here's what I suggest you do. Number one, try to find out what an agency has paid for something similar in the past. You can go on Sam.gov, you can go on FPDS, you can just Google it. Fencing, Air Force. Janitorial, Department of State, okay? Next, call and email the point of contact. Try to find out to see if maybe they're gonna give you any information about pricing. You'll be amazed at what happens. Next, if you are practicing middleman, make more money method. What happens is you become dependent on your middleman for the price. And this is another huge mistake that's made. So you call, because people out there say, oh, for middleman, you know, they know the thing. You call the painter, the fencer, floor person, the ceiling person, the whatever person, and they're the expert. They gonna give you a price, boom, 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 bam, bam, because they're giving you their price with their margin. So if it's a lowest price, technically acceptable opportunity, and they're giving you a price of $5,000 a month because they've added in all their profit, you're not going to win because you still have to add your profit in there. Profit and margins are super important. You know, take this towel that I have. This is a microfiber towel. What do you think this costs? Like $1 to create? I don't know. I bought like a pack of them for maybe $14. So are they making a lot of money? Probably, after you factor in all of the materials, the Amazon fees, all of that, they're probably making maybe 50%. Who knows? Does every single business make a profit of 50%? Nope. The restaurants don't. Real estate doesn't. But does that mean you can't develop wealth? You can't take your revenues or your profits and invest them and create wealth because you're only getting a 3% profit? Not at all. So, but to work smarter, to the comment, and that is, you don't go on Unison then, which is beautiful because Unison is a reverse bid platform. You can also win different opportunities that require no experience on Sam.gov. But what's important is you must be aware of what you want your profit to be. I like 20%. Do we always get 20%? No. There's some contracts I get 80, some contracts I get like negative because I messed up. It happens. You just keep it going. For those of you that are in those positions, and I can sense it where you're like, but I don't even know where to begin. What do I do? And what You gotta first take a deep breath. There's no perfect pricing. There are companies who specialize in helping organizations have a competitive advantage with pricing. So just understand that. Number two, prices are made up. I don't know why a pen is 10 cents and my earrings are not. It's what we've decided in our country. These prices are made up. Why is it that they're so less expensive in other places but expensive here, and vice versa, right? Vice versa. When it comes to pricing, it always goes back to what are the evaluation criteria? What does it take for you to win? So here are some other tricks how to bid smarter, not harder. We're talking labor. I'm gonna give you all a sneak peek. Now, before I show you this, I want you to know it's not perfect. What you have here, this is what you would pay somebody, okay? Let's say you're bidding on a staffing position, okay? So let's say you're like, okay, I did some research and the going rate is $31. These are just arbitrary names. We don't need those here. Then these categories represent workers' comp, FICA, Medicare, federal unemployment, Florida unemployment, and then you would add in for the state in which the person lived. So if they're in New York or Virginia, you would add in that and remove the Florida piece, okay? Then what we have here, the other categories are paid time off, holiday pay. There were times where we would offer parking, health and welfare if it applies, or health and welfare could refer to your benefits plan, your general and administration / profit, and then you have your billable rate. So let's take a look. Let's say you're like, okay, for this position, I want to pay them $40 an hour. So then the calculation would say, to get the numbers that you want, a 31% profit, you would need to bill the federal government $70.50. Now, for those of you, the number one piece to bidding smarter, not harder, is understanding the evaluation criteria. So if it's lowest price technically acceptable, $70 an hour probably is not going to cut it. Because the same applies with services in different positions. So then you have to go back and maybe you have to pay the person less. You may have a profit of only 5% of 10%, right? So it's about playing with those numbers. Maybe you don't offer parking. Maybe you have a different benefits plan, right? So these are all the things to take in consideration when you're doing your pricing for a person. And this would be an employee, okay? Not a contractor. Does this make sense? Let me know if this makes sense, everyone. Is the middleman the best way to start, given you have zero experience and successful track record? Yes, it is one of the greatest ways to start. And I'm going to break down something for you all. We bid on some work, some critical thinking training, and I have an amazing video with Karen on my channel, who used to work for the federal government, and she talked about that she does work for my main company, KPC. So we bid on this opportunity, and it was like a lowest cost, technically acceptable. I mean, the contract was, I don't even think it was more than $6,000. It was pretty low. It wasn't that much. It was definitely not more than $20,000. So to even get to that price, let me walk you back through it. Number one, when you win an opportunity, it's easier to negotiate than before you win. So this is what I'm getting at. We'll pay anywhere from $2,500 a day. $1,000 to $2,500 a day, okay? Then you have travel. I think it was for multiple days. I think it was 2 or 3 days. And the estimate, $3,000 for travel. So let's say we split the difference for training. Say it's 2-day training. $1,500, that's $3,000, plus travel at $3,000. So that's $6,000. I like, if we have we may have curriculum developers that need to help. We may need to print something. So we may add let's just add another 3. Printing materials, I'm not sure if we printed any for this, but we already know a company, Mimeo, they print materials. It's usually a few $100s. We have a price structure in place as far as what we pay people to do curriculum development. So let's say it was $9,000, right? Those are my expenses. So what you're doing is you're identifying all of your expenses, right? So it's technically acceptable, the lowest price, so it's $9,000. Then I like 20%, so that's $1,800, $1,080. So in order for me to make my margin, I need to charge $10,800. I said $10,800. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today, for liking, subscribing, for taking full advantage of the 5-day challenge. And I was looking at my goals, because my goal is to have 1,000 people in my challenge at a time. That is my goal, and I know it will happen. The goal is to also help 10 million of you in this space, so you can realize your goals and dreams through government contract. Give and give and give more than anybody else gives in this space, because I already know I am, and I will continue doing it. And I appreciate you for being on this journey as I also evolve into other things and doing other things. So I appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification button. With that, bye. Everything is possible.